Now, if you are a golfer that when you come down and your lead elbow is turned in towards your rib cage, right? Which the anatomic terminology for this would be external humerus rotation. So external humerus rotation moves the elbow in towards the rib cage. If you have that elbow in that position, then guess what's gonna happen? Well, there's gonna be a very big collision between the golf club, the golf ball, and the ground. And that collision is going to send a shock wave up through the arm, and it's gonna be sustaining a lot of that pressure into the elbow. This is why elbows get injured in the first place, is because the elbow is out of position when that collision starts to take place. That's where you can start getting yourself into trouble here. Now, what we're gonna be working towards today is we're gonna be working on getting the elbow into the correct position through the hitting area. But I want you to understand that the most important part of your golf swing is your wrists. The function of the wrists is what is basically giving the club face all of its inputs, right? And managing the club face, we know, is the king or the queen of the castle. 85% of your shot shape is dictated by the face angle. Now, when it comes down to it, the functions of the wrists in the golf swing, there's plenty of them, right? We have supination and pronation. We have flexion and extension. We have wrist cocking and uncocking, or radial deviation and ulnar deviation. We have lots of functions available to us, and how you use those functions and blend of those functions is very dependent on who you are as a player. But all of those functions that we talk about are completely independent from what the rest of the arm is doing in space. That's what I want you to think about. I can move my wrist in supination and pronation, and I can move it into flexion and extension and deviation on both sides of it without having my elbow change its position. So what we're gonna work on today is we're gonna work on getting our lead arm freed up from our body and getting our elbow in the correct position through the point of contact. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on getting the wrists and the forearms to function properly. We're gonna be doing this lead side only at first, and then we're gonna go ahead and bring the trail side back into the mix here, and we're gonna slowly start to ramp up the pace. But I want you to be able to be very cognizant of the idea of what the problem really is at hand, and I want you to be able to back check this stuff on camera before you start to move forward in the process. If you do that, then there's a very good chance that you're gonna now have a golf swing that's much safer over the long haul, and you're gonna be able to avoid this pain like the plague. You get what I'm saying? Okay, good. Now, if you are brand new to the channel, this is your first time joining us, then do us a big favor, head down below, subscribe to the channel for us. It helps continue to spread our message, and I'm happy to have you as part of the channel. Also, if you like today's video and you are starting to play better golf and more pain-free, which is fantastic, then do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. It's good for my psyche, it makes me feel good. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post that stuff up below. I love being able to help people play this crazy game we call golf. And I love to make sure that you have all the questions answered in your brain before you start to embark on the journey of swing change. So now that we identified what the problem really is, let's talk about how we're gonna get it fixed. So let's go ahead and take our setup position here. I've got the golf club off to the side, okay? Imagine holding the golf club, get into your normal setup position. Take your trail hand and put it behind your back and move your body into a light impact position. So shift your hips to your lead side to where you feel about 80% of your weight underneath your lead foot, okay? Have your hips open, 5, 10, 15 degrees or so. Your spine should be fairly upright. This is, again, what we call a light impact position at My Golf DNA. And your lead arm should be hanging down freely underneath your shoulder. Now, I want you just to do some reps where you swing the arm back and forth. And what I want you to focus on is thinking about your elbow having like a laser beam on it, and you're gonna keep it pointed down the target line all the way through to a hip-high to hip-high swing. Now, a lot of you at home, if you were to do this movement in full swing shape, what you would notice is that you're basically developing a little bit of a chicken wing. Now, the real reason why a chicken wing actually exists is because the arm actually stops rotating in the golf swing. When you start pushing your trail arm across your center and you don't have any rotation that's taking place here, then that's when the trail arm is going to break away from you. But for now, we're eliminating a lot of that rotation, right? Think about Jordan Spieth or Brooks Koepka. We see their left arm break away from their trail arm. Why? Well, because they're using a lot of active pull from that lead arm, and they're eliminating a lot of the club face rate of closure in there that could potentially make them not hit the shot shape that they're looking for, okay? Think about that. Now, what I want you to do is, after you get the hang of this, swinging the arm back and forth, okay? Just feeling that elbow stay down the target line as long as you possibly can, right? When theoretically it only needs to stay there all the way through the low point in the swing, because that's when the club is gonna start moving its way out of the ground, okay? But we wanna exaggerate it at first because we're trying to create a new feel or sensation. I want you to pick the club back up. I don't want you to hit any golf balls yet. And I want you to hold the club lightly in the back 3 fingers of your lead hand. I want your thumb and your pointer finger here up off the golf club, okay? I don't want it touching the golf club at all. And I want you to make the same swings back and forth from a light impact position, hip high to hip high, just focusing in on the elbow, staying pointed down the target line. Now, you should be able to do reps like this all day long. Watch your favorite show. You could watch the Andy Griffith show or whatever it is you like to watch. And you should never feel like you have to stop because you're sore, your arm's tired, or you're feeling a lot of that discomfort in the elbow. You shouldn't have to stop if you're keeping your grip pressure light and keeping your elbow pointed down the target line. Your arm should be swinging freely. And there's certainly not enough big sustained contact with the ground that's going to put you in harm's way here. But what you're doing here is you're training your arm the correct functions before we start putting the inputs to the golf club. Now what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and take a golf ball and I want you to put it on the ground. You can do this with a foam ball, and I want you to position another ball that's about 3 to 5 inches in front of it, okay? And that's going to be the indicator as to where your low point in the swing is. Now what we're going to do here is we're basically going to work on these little small swings, and we're going to hit golf balls where we're basically pulling our elbow down the target line, and we're going to let the club fall to the back of the ball. And what you're going to do is you're going to use the strike and where the ball is headed to know the adjustments that you have to make in order to be able to get the center of the club face and the ball lined up with one another. So a lot of you at home are going to find that the ball is going to be flying all over the place because, again, you were just focusing on your elbow position, and the wrist and the forearm aren't trained to do these inputs independently from that movement. So let's go ahead and do our first rep here. Okay, so ball position is going to be up off of the logo on my chest here. Okay, I've got myself in a light impact position. Now I'm going to do these little small reps, and I'm going to keep my elbow pointed down the target line. Okay, is my elbow pointed down the target line here? You betcha. Okay, did I hit that golf ball clean? Absolutely not. Where did the golf ball go? Well, it went out to the right. Now remember, this drill, when you're pulling your arm past your body, is going to have more forward shaft lean there, and it typically is going to have the club face a little bit more open. So what a lot of you at home are already probably getting the wheels turning and seeing is that I'm going to need to allow my wrist and forearm to rotate and turn down. So now what I'm going to rehearse is doing these reps. I'm going to try to get myself to have my elbow pointed down the target line and the club face nice and square in behind the golf ball. So I'm trying to pull my elbow to the low point, okay, and I'm trying to get the club face to square up, and that was perfectly straight. So now I have the club face being managed inside of a movement that's much safer on the body. That elbow position's pointed down the target line, the left wrist rotated enough to where it was nice and square, and the ball flew very straight, very low to the ground, and went 10 yards. I know a lot of you at home are like, I'm not gonna go work on things, I'm not gonna hit my bucket of balls and only hit it 10 yards. Just do it, okay? You need to do this stuff. You're training your lead arm and your lead wrist what it should be doing down in the hitting area, okay? So go ahead and take your setup. Okay, lead elbow pointed down the target line, club face nice and square. Once you can start feeling that you've got some good control of this movement, then bring the trail hand back in there and start having a slow, gradual buildup to hitting some full shots here. Okay, so we're gonna go through the process. Take my setup, move into a light impact position, small rep. Okay, my elbow tried to stay down the target line all the way through the low point. Club face was nice and square. Golf ball was nice and solid. Okay. Elbow down the line. Okay, good solid contact there. Again, these are reps that are designed not to hit the golf ball far, but to give you the mechanical movements that you should have in place to be able to protect your body and also hit the golf ball better over the long haul. Now we can start building into this, right? This is where a lot of you at home need to have discipline in your practice sessions and not go from these little small swings into kamikaze mode. Have a gradual buildup. Now what I'm gonna do as a golf instructor and a student of the game myself is I'm gonna start from a static address position rather than a static impact position. And I'm gonna start creating movement, and I'm gonna start trying to focus on that same elbow position and that same wrist function inside of it. And I'm gonna start seeing if I get good results and if I feel pain-free. And if I do, then I continue to move up and up and up into longer swings. Static address position. Okay. Strike wasn't as good there, and I was a little bit more tense in my arm. So I'm pulling my elbow down the target line through the low point. making sure that the wrist function is happening independently from that. Okay, that was good there. Now, obviously, when the golf club moves its way through the low point and the club starts to release, that elbow is actually going to turn in towards the body. That's totally acceptable. The golf ball is already long gone. You've taken all of the pressure and the stress off of that joint, and you shouldn't feel any pain or discomfort at that point. The club is on its deceleration phase, right? Now we're going to make it a little bit longer. Okay, staying really, really focused on the movements, not the strike at first, letting the strike and the ball flight kind of speak for itself. If the ball is going left or right, slow back down, make the proper adjustments. Then as you get better, start getting a little bit longer with it. Okay, so just a quick recap. The position of the elbow at impact is what's getting you into trouble in the first place. Get the elbow pointed down the target line and keep it pointed down the target line for an exaggerated format at first, lead arm only. Then go ahead and bring the golf club back in and start focusing on that same movement, but now work on getting the club face to square up properly so that you hit these little small shots that are nice and tight. Once you do that, you know that you're tension free, you've got your elbow in the right spot, bring the trail hand back in the mix and start picking up the pace. Be disciplined in this process. You're just trying to get 1% better, but you're also trying to protect and preserve your body over the long haul. And again, like I said at the opener, you're gonna be a much happier golfer when this is all said and done, because no more Advil and no more sitting on the sidelines wondering what it is that caused us in the first place. We'll see you in the next video.